Good evening, you're watching this Mongolian World. I'm your host, Tanakhan Batar. And for top stories, Singapore Corporation Enterprise to consult to creating a new Mongolian social security system. ERDENEBUREN hydroelectric power plant construction project launched. The South Korean Minister of Foreign Affairs is paying an official visit to Mongolia. And for the news, stay tuned. Mongolia will receive consultation from Singapore Corporation Enterprise on creating a new social security pension fund system.
An action plan for the government of Mongolia's consultation with Singapore Corporation Enterprise was developed and submitted to the World Bank for approval. The World Bank has agreed to finance $230,000 for the first and second stage of consultation services. A consultation team from the Southeast Asia Department of SCE visited Mongolia from August 10th through 16th. The team was in Mongolia to assess and identify the problems and gaps in the current pension fund and social welfare governance and policies to create a consolidated fund system that can be successfully implemented.
Okay, the Central Provident Fund of Singapore is essentially a savings and retirement fund for Singapore citizens and its permanent residents. And the whole idea for that is to ensure that as one goes on to its retirement or its elderly age, it can do so in a sustainable manner. So I think the whole idea for the Provident Fund is to ensure that people can retire comfortably and with enough money in their own savings account to ensure that they can still live many years beyond their retirement. Okay. The Mongolian pension fund or social security system is a bit different from Singapore's in the sense that all the funds are pooled together, and there is a certain payout at the end, at the end of when the fund is available for withdrawal. But it's not tied to an individual's account, or in a way the contributions are not, in a way given. In a way that's measured based on someone's how hard one works or how much contribution he gives into his own account. So maybe there is a way that we could see how we could bridge that gap, because through Singapore's own system or own model, it enables someone to, in a way, save more in their own central provident fund account by, in a way, working harder and getting, getting more salary and contributing more as he progresses in his career path.
The SCE team met with officials from the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Mining and Heavy Industry, Ministry of Construction and Urban Development, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, the General Department of Social Insurance, and the Department of Social Insurance of Chingilte District. A detailed report and an advisory document will be submitted to the government of Mongolia by November. The next stage, planning stage with Singapore Corporation Enterprise, will be based on the report's findings.
Since establishing diplomatic relations in 1969, Mongolia and Turkey have been developing cooperation and partnership in various fields, including education, tourism, trade and humanitarian assistance. Last week in Expo Turkey 2022 was held at Michel Expo Center in Ulaanbaatar City.
The 9th meeting of the Mongolia-Turkey Intergovernmental Trade and Economic Commission was successfully held in Ankara last November. During the meeting, the two sides agreed on proposals to increase trade and investment and expand economic cooperation in agriculture, tourism, free trade zone management, and transportation. Expo Turkey 2022 was organized to build on those agreements.
We plan to hold this event regularly. Here at the exhibition, we have distributors from Turkish and domestic companies with product samples to boost their foreign market sales.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, Mongolian businesses and consumers experienced the difficulties of being dependent on only a few countries for imports, particularly for consumer goods. The Expo Turkey organizers say that events will be organized regularly to boost trade and commerce between Mongolia and Turkey. Around 60 companies presented more than 120 products at the exhibition.
Now let's take a look at Mongolia's current affairs.
At the invitation of Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mongolia, Batsitsik, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea, Park Jin, is paying an official visit to Mongolia from August 28 through 30. This is the first visit to Mongolia by a Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea in 8 years, and is significant for developing relations and cooperation with South Korea, a third neighbor and an important trade and investment partner. During the visit, Minister Park will hold official talks with Minister Batsitsik and meet with President Hursukh, Speaker of Parliament Zandanshattar, and Prime Minister Oyun.
The ERDENEBUREN hydroelectric power plant, designed with an installed capacity of 90 megawatts and the capacity to generate 366 million kilowatt-hours a year, will supply power to 5 provinces. On Saturday, the project team held a virtual conference with authorities from 3 of those provinces.
Gantolak, the construction project coordinator, announced that the project has officially launched. The meeting was attended by the governors of Ovs, Haut, and Bayodri provinces. The power plant is being built to reduce Mongolia's dependence on energy imported from China and Russia and promote economic development by enabling the mining of minerals and oil in the Great Lakes Depression in western Mongolia. Construction will be carried out by the state-owned Chinese engineering company Power China, financed by a $1 billion soft loan granted by China in 2014. According to the project team, 270 herder households will be relocated from the area where the plant will be built. Province authorities noted that the households being relocated have demanded an increase in compensation. Environmental issues related to the construction project were also discussed in detail. The conservation and transportation of topsoil and rare vegetation were also on the meeting's agenda. The country's first hydroelectric power plant, HYDROELECTRIC, was built and commissioned in 1997 through a Mongolian-Chinese joint venture in Dilkirsom, Gavelta province. Since then, 2 of the largest energy projects in Mongolia, the Tashir and Durgun hydroelectric power plants, were put into operation, along with the Bogdingol, Tasansingel, Hungui, and Galota hydroelectric power plants.
Here's the currency exchange rate provided by Mongol Bank. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at our international news from our partner agencies. Berlin's IFA Consumer Electronics Fair returns to the German capital next month after a pandemic-enforced hiatus. But fewer exhibitors are expected than pre-2020 and potentially fewer gadgets too, as the global chip shortage and economic woes dent to the tech industry.
From robot chefs to rolling TVs, Berlin's IFA Consumer Electronics Show has for decades been the place to see the latest tech headed for the home. The show can trace its roots back to 1924. Albert Einstein attended in 1930. Nowadays, it's one of Europe's biggest tech shows and the world's largest electronics fair that is open to consumers. Doors are set to open to the public on Friday, September 2nd.
IFA is the largest consumer trade show in the world. So this is the only show where people can actually attend, the general public. So if you look at MWC or CES, these big shows are trade only. So IFA is one of the few shows where people get to come and touch the latest products and really see what's coming next.
Like many physical gatherings, the annual IFA was disrupted by the pandemic. September 2020's bash went ahead with strict hygiene measures and significantly fewer exhibitors. Just 80 companies exhibited. South Korea's Samsung, one of the world's largest electronics brands, will be in attendance. And announcements are expected related to its SmartThings ecosystem as it battles Google and Amazon for dominance in the home.
Like all conferences, IFA faced the decision whether to carry on or whether to stop. So in 2020, IFA actually pushed ahead and had a very small show floor. It was very focused on startup and it was very socially distanced. I did attend, and I have to say that there weren't that many great products there. Having said that, it was still amazing to see all the people and attend a show basically before the vaccines were really rolled out. In 2021, I think they learned their lesson and just decided to hold back. And so this is now going to be the first show that IFA's putting on where all the halls are open. They are definitely missing a lot of their major exhibitors. I believe a third of the big names that usually would attend aren't going to be there. There's an entire section of halls that aren't open. So it is scaled back just because a lot of companies don't really see the value in attending a consumer fair like this. They can show their products digitally. And so why would they need a booth to show them off in the real world? I think that's what a lot of people are asking themselves.
Elsewhere, brands look set to continue pushing foldable screens. Taiwan's Asus has already announced a new foldable laptop it intends to show at IFA. But whether it's robotic cats or wooden home control hubs, exhibitors are facing the challenge of a global semiconductor shortage. Add to that, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has worsened inflationary pressures around the world. Energy and food costs have shot up. IFA Berlin runs from September 2nd to 6th with media previews, August 31st and September 1st.
Our next story comes from Middle East. Iraqi President Barham Salih on Sunday held separate talks with Special UN Representative Janine Hennis-Plasschaert and the Iraqi Prime Minister to discuss the ongoing political crisis in the country.
A statement released by the President's office said during the meetings, the President discussed ways to get out of the existing crisis, stressing the importance of adopting dialogue among all to reach satisfactory results that guarantee the security and stability of Iraq. Iraq's caretaker Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi warned on Saturday that the political crisis in the country is threatening security achievements made in past years. Al-Kadhimi's warning is a clear indication of the dangers of one of Iraq's worst political crises since the 2003 US-led invasion of Iraq. It's the result of disagreements between followers of influential Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr and rival Iran-backed groups since last year's parliamentary elections. Al-Sadr won the largest share of seats in the October elections but failed to form a majority government, leading to what has become one of the worst political crises in Iraq in recent years. His bloc later resigned from parliament and his supporters last month stormed the parliament building in Baghdad. Al-Sadr has demanded that parliament be dissolved and early elections held.
Senior member of the Islamic Jihad militant group, Bassam al-Sadi, appeared on Sunday in a military courtroom after Israel filed terror charges against him. His arrest had fueled 3 days of heavy fighting in Gaza early this month.
As part of the Egyptian brokered ceasefire that ended the fighting, Islamic Jihad had demanded the release of Bassam al-Sadi and another detained Palestinian who is on prolonged hunger strike. The indictment signals that those demands will not be met. The military said Thursday al-Sadi stands accused of committing crimes of affiliation with an activity in an illegal association and receiving funds from Islamic Jihad in Gaza, as well as impersonation, incitement, and aiding contact with enemy elements, the military said. Islamic Jihad is an Iran-sponsored Palestinian militant group that is opposed to Israel's existence and has carried out scores of deadly attacks over the years targeting Israeli civilians. It operates in both the occupied West Bank and Gaza. Al-Sadi was arrested earlier this month during a nighttime military raid in the West Bank city of Jenin. In response to his arrest, Islamic Jihad said it was going on alert. In response to what it said was an imminent threat, Israel launched a wave of airstrikes in Gaza that killed a senior Islamic Jihad commander. The militants began launching hundreds of rockets at Israel hours later. The flare-up left 49 Palestinians dead, including the militant group's top 2 commanders and 10 other fighters, before the ceasefire took effect. Gazan militants fired some 1,100 rockets, but no one on the Israeli side was killed or seriously wounded. It was the deadliest exchange of fire since last year's war between Israel and Hamas, the militant group that has ruled Gaza for the last 15 years and which didn't take part in the latest fighting. Despite the lopsided toll, Islamic Jihad has held rallies across Gaza in recent days, including on Thursday on the main road of Gaza's Shijia neighborhood. At a rally Wednesday in the southern town of Rafah, the militants displayed life-sized replicas of rockets.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature of sports. Northern Ireland's Rory McIlroy became the first player to win the FedEx Cup 3 times after success on Sunday in the PGA Tour Championship. The 33-year-old overturned a 6-shot lead by Scotty Scheffler to finish one clear of the American and Sung Jae Im. Four-time major winner McIlroy carded a 4-under par 66 in the final round to finish on 21 under. The Northern Irishman receives $18 million in prize money after his fifth victory of the season. Scheffler started the week with a 6-shot advantage over McIlroy as players began the season-ending event on different scores determined by their place in the FedEx Cup standings. After a suspension of play during Saturday's third round because of lightning, world number 1 Scheffler, led by just one play, resumed on Sunday morning but extended his lead to 6 before the final round. When the final round began later on Sunday, the pair both bogeyed the first hole, but Scheffler dropped shots on the 4th and 6th, while McIlroy birdied the 3rd and made 3 more in succession from the 5th.
Yeah, incredible day, incredible week. 4 over through 2 holes, 10 shots out of the lead at that point to claw my way back and end up winning the tournament. Incredible, just a real. Really proud of my resilience and how I sort of handled that start, and just sort of stuck my head down and kept going all week and took advantage of the opportunity that I was given today.
McIlroy has been one of the PGA Tour's most vocal advocates during golf's ongoing power struggle and was one of the leading voices in the meeting held earlier this month by the Tour's top players to discuss the threat of LIV golf. McIlroy said the FedEx Cup victory would help soften the blow after he failed to win the 150th Open Championship, where he shared the lead after 54 holes, but ultimately finished 3rd behind Australia's Cameron Smith. Austin Dillon avoided a massive wreck in the rain to win at Daytona International Speedway and snag a playoff spot in the Cup Series regular season finale Sunday. Austin Dillon passed Austin Cindric for the lead with 3 laps to go after a 3-hour, 20-minute red flag for inclement weather. It was an aggressive move that kept a drama-filled race. Martin Truex Jr. was the biggest loser. Truex looked like he would secure the final postseason berth when the skies opened up, but he faded once the race restarted and allowed Ryan Blaney to make up the ground in a wild points scramble. Blaney finished 7 spots behind Truex in the race, but 3 points ahead in the standings. "You just tried to stay optimistic," Blaney said. Definitely a roller coaster of emotions that ended on a high note. Dillon's victory in the number 3 Chevrolet was as stunning as Blaney's comeback. Running 16th at the time of the crash, he turned onto the apron to avoid the 15-car melee between turns 1 and turn 2 that was caused by a summer shower everyone was coming. Cars started sliding sideways, heading into the high-banked turn, a result of slick tires losing grip on wet asphalt. Daniel Suarez and Danny Hamlin were running 1-2 when the pack drove into the rain with 23 laps remaining. For a second it looked like 2014 Series champion Kevin Harvick was going to make it through the mess and grab the lead as the caution flag flew. But then spinning Ty Dillon, Austin's little brother, sideswiped Harvick and knocked him into the wreckage. That allowed Austin Dillon, who started the day 19th points, to essentially steal a playoff spot. It also created a controversial finish should NASCAR have halted the race early and provided the kind of Game 7 moment NASCAR wanted when it moved the regular season finale to unpredictable Daytona in 2020. NASCAR seemed to intend on fixing its rain mistake by waiting for a window of sunshine. Here's the weather forecast of world's major cities. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for staying with us. We will see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.